On a beautiful day, a monk set out to a village to beg for alms. When an elderly woman stringing beads in her front yard saw the monk, she immediately called out to her daughter-in-law and asked her to offer him some food. To show her respect, the woman also stood up to greet the monk and invite him into their yard. As the monk waited in the yard, the woman went inside the house to get a cup of water for the monk. When the daughter-in-law came back out with an alms bowl filled with food and was about to hand it to the monk, the elderly woman suddenly exclaimed that her most valuable bead had disappeared. So, after handing the alms bowl to the monk, the daughter-in-law asked him whether he had seen her mother-in-law's bead while he was waiting in the yard. Assuringly, the monk shook his head no. At that moment, the old woman's son rushed over and angrily said to the monk, "How could you not have seen it? The beads were right there on the table, and my mother and wife were both inside the house. So, you were the only person here. Who else but you could have taken that bead?" As the three of them looked at him demanding an answer, the monk said nothing and remained silent. The son couldn't take it any longer. He went away, returned with a club in his hand, and started beating the monk with it. A goose nearby was startled by the sudden commotion, and many people also gathered round to watch the scene. In a whirl of chaos, the son accidentally hit the goose. The goose whimpered painfully and died. At this point, the monk finally said, "The bead was swallowed by the goose." But they didn't believe him. So the son asked, "How's that possible? Why would a goose eat a bead?" And the monk replied, "When your mother stood up to greet me, she bumped into the table and the bead dropped to the ground. At this time, the goose happened to amble around where the bead was. I think it must have mistaken the bead for food and swallowed it." The old woman and her son didn't believe the monk. So the daughter-in-law suggested that since the goose was dead, they could cut it open and see if the bead was inside. This way, they would know if the monk was telling the truth or not. So she cut the goose open. After rummaging inside the goose for a while, she did find the missing bead. The three of them were startled, so they quickly knelt down to the monk. Full of remorse, they prostrated themselves to the monk, begging for forgiveness. But the monk said to them compassionately, "It's all right. All is well." But the son apologized again. "Master, I'm deeply sorry for beating you. Please forgive me. And then the son continued to ask, But Master, since you knew what happened all along, why didn't you say something in the first place? At that, the monk explained, I didn't say anything because the goose was still alive, and I broke silence because it was already dead. As a spiritual cultivator, I cherish all life, and I don't hope to see any living beings being hurt. Well, thank you for your food. Have a nice day. Practicing forbearance for the sake of others is not only a true virtue, but also a form of spiritual cultivation.